Hello, welcome to this week's live event number 39. We are perilously close to the completion of our first year of live events on YouTube. It's very, very exciting for me. I guess actually, considering that we're at 39 and there's 12 more to go, that's actually 3 months. So perhaps it's not entirely that close, but it feels pretty close. Welcome. My name is Jeff Rolka. This is your live event. The chat is open and available to you for your questions and all that kind of stuff. Hello, Aldo. Welcome this evening. It's so nice to see you pop up. I think you have a new icon. I don't recall that icon before. Good afternoon to you as well, JC's Radiant Ray. Hello, everybody. I'm going to wait and watch for Capone to see if Capone pops up, then I'll talk about his question about Van de Graaff generator. Hello, Aaron Justice. Good afternoon to you. And hello, Heidi Banker. Welcome, everybody. Welcome. All kinds of crazy stuff going on right now. Of course, we had the new extended range warm-ups that came out this morning. And I hope that you have a chance to look at those in the near future. Jennifer Joanne Bloomberg has a question. Brilliant. That's what we're here for. This is your event. So please dive in. Be not shy. If you have a question, I am generally of the opinion that someone else is wanting to ask that very same question, so we can all benefit from it. So Jennifer, please bring on the question. Hey. Capone, I was just mentioning you. The inhala voce, I believe is what it is called. But before I do that, and hello, by the way, Stryker, who's also saying hello to everybody else. And hello, Lola Lewis. Gosh, I read about the inhala voce is very similar, I believe, to apagio breathing management, but it's a different way of thinking about it and a different way of feeling about the process of inhalation. In my reading of it, it didn't talk quite so much about musculature around the body and posture as I typically do, but it had some interesting ideas on it, and it's worth checking out. I mean, I always think that all these different things inform how we approach our voices and can help us learn, how we're doing things, and just put a new spin on it that can open our eyes to something that we've missed thus far. Capone, by the way, I had a listen, thanks to JC's Radiant Ray, in fact, who found the song that you were talking about. Refugees, I believe it was, by Van de Graaff Generator. And from the sound of his voice, that's a very light head voice. That's not actually falsetto by my definition of it, or the way it's defined in Richard Miller's teachings. So I'm not sure what where you got the thinking that it was falsetto. It's a very light approach to head voice, which I think is what people typically expect head voice to sound like. But yeah, that sounds like he is bridging the gap or singing over the secondo passaggio for those G naturals above middle C. Made me a little nervous to listen to all the scooping. He does a lot of scooping up to the high notes, which can prevent you from making a smooth transition over the secondo passaggio. But yeah, as far as I can tell, that's what's going on there. Now, Jennifer said she had a question. I haven't seen it pop up yet. It's up down there. And Stryker saying hello. Capone, and I talked about inhala voce. Stryker's asking about a specific practice that focuses on chromatic scales. That's a really good question. I haven't done anything with chromatics, but there's a really cool exercise that I've done in the past, and I'll record it and put it up there, but I do need to make a note about it. I feel like I've made a note about this before and it slipped through the cracks. The difficult thing with chromatics um, is that on descending chromatic patterns, it's very easy to go flat, and on ascending ones, particularly in the zona de passage, it's very easy to squeeze up. The narrower the interval that we have to sing, the easier it is for us to either carry vocal fold engagement, too much tension, or go too low. So it's not a terribly complex exercise, but I'll record that and put that up there. Thank you for bringing it to my attention. I truly appreciate it. Let's see, Jennifer. Let's see. Now you've got your question up here. I am having trouble putting together my repertoire. I want to find songs that I enjoy singing and also that will be most efficient in helping me develop my voice. How would you recommend I approach creating my own voice curriculum that progressively challenges me and that covers a variety of genres and styles? That's awesome. What a wonderful question. By the same token, I feel like you've kind of already answered your own question. It's how you might approach those songs too. First of all, I'm really a big proponent of having people sing what inspires them, what you're excited about singing. And if you're not entirely sure about that, or there's nothing that's really overwhelmingly exciting to you, then dabbling around in various genres, I think, is appropriate, and try to notice when you find something that you really enjoy. From there, there's so many different options. I mean, one of the options, of course, is when you're setting out and you're kind of looking through the different genres, have an awareness of your vocal fosh and your usable range and what you'd like to expand it into, and select songs that, one, stay within that range so that you have things where you can just work on pure musicality and vowel alignment in the thyroarytenoid dominant singing voice or chest voice. And then choose some songs that go beyond that so that you can then start to work on range expansion. Now, the other thing that you can do, which I will very frequently do with my clients, is take an existing song which does, in fact, stay in their thyroarytenoid dominant singing voice, but then change the key either up or down. Honestly, I do that quite frequently just as a general practice, but sometimes that can be really helpful in working on expanding your range, because you already know the song, and you can you're not working on lining up vowels or working on the song, memorizing the words, memorizing the melody, any of that stuff when you're working on transitioning into your upper register. Conversely, when you pick those songs that do go over your secondo passaggio and into your upper register, one of the very first things I do with those songs and working with people is to bring it down so that those sections that do transit the secondo passaggio are much easier to sing, are predominantly in the thyroarytenoid dominant singing voice. I usually don't bring it out of the zona de passaggio, but I'll bring it so that the highest notes are below the secondo passaggio. Work through vowel alignment, work through memorization of it, and then work its way back up to the key that you intend to perform it in, or the original key if that's appropriate. We don't want... It's easy to learn bad habits around upper register practice when we don't know the song yet. Because when we're focused on the words that we're singing, the melody, listening to the backing track, or any of those other things, that's when old habits can creep in unannounced and catch us by surprise. And the less we can activate those old habits in our new practice, the better. So that would be a good place to start. In terms of, sifting through the many different genres of music out there, again, I think it's very important that we sing what pleases us, what's exciting for us. If you have obligations, then hopefully the excitement of fulfilling those obligations is enough to get you really psyched about singing those songs that maybe you wouldn't otherwise pick. Striker saying hi to Lola Lewis. Striker, extended range, Barry, and tenor were great. Awesome. Brilliant. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Aaron Justice. Jeff, I have a high voice, but it's like my voice naturally sits at the top of my speaking range. Why can't I sing higher without getting louder? Well, that's pretty normal. And in fact, to a large degree, it's quite desirable. In a way of thinking about it, if we're going to maintain consistent timbre from our lowest register, I guess this is going to be my prop today. I just sort of noticed myself waving my pen around. I didn't really think about that, but if we're going to have a consistent timbre from the lowest parts of our range up through the secondo passaggio and even perhaps into the higher reaches of our voices, then you are going to get louder. There's a baseline level of airflow that the vocal fold requires in order to stay vibrating and stay loose enough that the sound remain consistent. If consistency is not a priority, then you can certainly adjust the volume and attenuate it to a certain degree. You can get a little softer. However, you are going to have increasingly slight changes to your timbre as you adjust that volume. And I'm particularly thinking about adjusting it downwards. So thinking like I'm above the secondo passaggio, but I want to have this like really light, lyrical kind of Aaron Neville thing going on. Then you are going to have more and more of that hollower kind of head voicey sound. And then at some point, you will get to the point where you have so little airflow that you'll probably skip onto the ligament and have a falsetto tone production. If that's okay for the song, then that's fine. That's totally cool. Those are legitimate artistic choices. But I want them for us to be choices. So when I have a vocalist that's defaulting to a falsetto tone production when they really ought to be just in cricothyroid dominant singing, which is your head voice, that's when, I want to suggest to them that we learn this transition so that the ranges of their voice can be delineated properly and they can make an artistic decision about it from an informed position. But if your voice is getting louder as you ascend, that's in fact quite normal and good. Aldo, Maestro, I'm building a Hackintosh and switching from Ableton to Logic. I didn't realize you could build Mac computers from components. It's really cool. Waiting for the guidebook. The guidebook's out tomorrow, everybody. If you're not on the newsletter, you wouldn't know that. I don't know if I announced it to the new. Well, then you're the first to know. So yeah, the guidebook's going to come out tomorrow. It'll be available on jeffrolka.com as of 8 p.m. London time. Striker Cahill. But that sounds very exciting. Sorry, I didn't mean to move on so quickly after that. But I think you're going to have a lot of fun with that, Aldo. Ableton is... I myself haven't used Ableton that much, but it is an incredibly powerful sequencing and production software suite, and Logic Pro will treat you very, very well. That will be really, really good. That will be very, very good. Striker. Second question is about public domain songs. What 6 would be good? Like Oh Danny Boy's Scarborough Fair. That's a good question. Now, I picked those tunes, and this is what I'm going to do moving forward because I've had a lot of requests to cover like songs, like actual songs on the channel, and I have avoided it for several years now because I didn't want to get into copyright infringement issues. I chose those songs, Danny Boy and Take Me Out to the Ball Game. I chose those because their melodies, the melodies were written in such a way that they served what I was trying to teach in the video. Take Me Out to the Ball Game was about wide leaps, specifically octaves. Oh Danny Boy was about transposition and assessing one's range to make sure that we pitch the song in an appropriate key for how we wish to deliver it. Moving forward, I will do the same thing. So what I would suggest to you is if you're working on and ask yourself why you're doing the public domain songs. If you're doing them because you want to record a song and make it your own, then I would sift through the thousands that exist, and see ones that inspire you. You have a lot of freedom with public domain works. You can do all kinds of derivatives of them without fear of penalty. So it's really nice to have that kind of artistic freedom. If you're using the public domain songs in order to practice a skill set that you wish to apply to another song, then you have to assess what it is in the song in question that isn't public domain that you're trying to learn, and then you sift through the public domain stuff to find what you're looking for. It can be a bit of a protracted experience. I mean, I feel like I got kind of lucky in these two kind of forays into that realm, because I sort of knew what I wanted to teach, and then I had a vague idea about the songs that would serve that need, and I just had to go and make sure they're public domain and then double check it, and it turned out it was all fine. So I do hope that helps. Arson. Hi, Jeff. Hello. I'm such a regular fan of yours. Thank you very much. Even when I'm sleepy or busy, I have to tune in to listen to your amazing lessons and advice. Just want to say thanks. Thank you. You're very, very welcome. I really appreciate that. Aditya, hey, I wanted to ask you, opera singers have a very beautiful sound above their secondo passaggio. Pavarotti called it dampening the voice in one video. How to do it? The best advice I can give you for that is to check out the videos that are labeled How to Sing in Head Voice. That term, head voice, has been used so frequently that... Oh, I got a little shock there. That term head voice has been used so frequently that it's often... it is often misconstrued as to be falsetto-like, and it doesn't have to be that way. One of the beauties of head voice is that it offers a great degree of flexibility above the secondo passaggio. So How to Sing in Head Voice is the place to start for that practice. And in about 6 months' time, I am going to do an entire intensive online course. I haven't exactly figured out how I'm going to do it, but I really, really feel very passionate about the transition between thyroarytenoid dominant singing and cricothyroid dominant singing. That's why I'm always talking about it in terms of musculature. And so I'm going to do, it'll probably be a several weeks long course that'll involve online aspects and interactive aspects and all kinds of help and stuff like that. But I haven't entirely figured it all out yet. But the place to start is the How to Sing in Head Voice videos. Monsieur Mobe says hello, and I say hello back. Striker, Aditya, he's talking to Aditya, Aaron. I posted a video, and I just read that about 8 years of practice for Pavarotti. It was a lot longer than that. I mean, Pavarotti went to a music intensive school from the time he was like, I want to say conservatively, it was like 5. And he was in a lesson every day, singing for hours every day. It was, I mean, he probably hit the 10,000 hour rule by the time he was 16 or something like that. Aaron Justice, I posted a video of me singing on Instagram. It really helped me get over the insecurity of singing. That's awesome. Well done to you. Well done. Aaron Justice, do males have a flageolet? Pardon me. Falsetto. Male vocalists have falsetto. Female vocalists have flageolet registers. Monsieur Mauvais. I would love to know how I can get the songs I've been practicing for my exams coming up out to you for you to listen to and maybe give me some tips on improving. I don't have a certain number yet. The best way to talk about all that is to get in touch via my website. Yeah, I feel like you just did that. So we can discuss all that via email. Striker, regarding chromatic scales from Joyce Di Donata says she practices more chromatic than anything else to warm up. Cool. That sounds good. The Mober, but I've been practicing about 12 songs for it. I have to sing 6. Okay. Okay. Well, you know, when it comes to auditions, it always pays to consider the the folks to whom you are auditioning, what the goal of the audition is, and what, if any, requirements there are. There's lots of rules and thoughts around auditions, or adjudication sessions. But yeah, if we talk via email, then we can discuss that. Karina, hi Jeff. I would like to learn how to sing "For Good" from Wicked. What is the technique that I should be aware of? Please give me some guidance. Thanks. I've worked on that song with vocalists, but so long ago. Karina, you know what I'm gonna have to do is, I am gonna make a note to have a look at the music for that because I have the book actually, and I'll talk about it here next week. Just if there's anything in there that I see that is particularly noteworthy. Arson, yes, I forgot my question. I'm having trouble with finding that golden middle between technique versus soul. I mean, is it wrong that I strain a bit, but deliver a real soulful performance? Well, that gets very subjective. I hope you understand. That's a very subjective question, and even the objective aspects of it would differ depending on whom you are speaking to. I tend to think that until we sing predominantly in tune, and I really mean quite well in tune, with good vowel alignment and good registration practice, that it's after that point that we can then start asking about what kind of musical things are going to come from it. But I perhaps take a different approach to musicality than you do. And I'm not saying that mine is right, I'm just saying that it's different. It's entirely possible that we could both approach things from our own different perspectives and arrive at similar performances. Then again, we might not. I'm of the opinion that musicality and performance practice evolves through technical practice. So we kind of this isn't going to make any sense, because it's just my own way of thinking about it. But I feel like you have to come through the technique to emerge outside the back of it. Like I said, I know that doesn't make any objective sense. That's just my own concept of where it has to come. I suppose a better way to think about it is actually a way that was described to me. My teaching practice was being described to me by a client of mine, and they described these 4 states of mastery. There is unconscious incompetence, where I am incompetent and I am unconscious of it. There's conscious incompetence, where I am incompetent and now I know that I'm incompetent. And then you get to conscious competence, which is I am now competent, but I am still conscious of making sure that I am competent. And then finally, unconscious competence. And that's the point that I feel like we strive to get to technically, so that the technique is an embedded aspect of our performance, and we are no longer thinking about technique, we are thinking about making music. And that is how we emerge out the backside of the technical odyssey, I suppose, that we undertake. I hope that that's at least in part addresses your question. Nancy is saying hello, and I say hello back. Brittany T. Hey, Jeff. Hello to you, Brittany. To what extent would you say rest is important in this process of singing improvement? I think it's quite important, particularly if you're sick. You can probably hear my voice is not entirely awesome. I managed to get the flu, which is always fun. But quite frankly, I'm not coughing, so I don't really care that much. I'm just a little kind of mucusy and snotty. I need so much rest, though, is the thing. I just don't have the energy. And that is often what is the problem with being sick and singing. I know you're not asking about being sick, but I'm gonna go off on this tangent briefly. If we're sick, it's often okay to sing. It's just that if you don't have the energy to properly engage and use your body and maintain good alignment, that's when you're going to make up for that lack with vocal fold engagement, and that's when problems occur. And so you have to be very conscious of that. But in general, I don't take a lot of rest. I don't have any rest days really in my schedule. When I don't have a cold or something like that, I don't really need them. It's not necessary. But that requires that you have good engagement, good airflow, that you're predominantly using your voice in what I would think of as a proper fashion, meaning that when you come to the secondo passaggio, you're making the transition into your upper register and then transitioning back down. Anytime you incorporate extended techniques into your regular practice or performances, that's going to change the equation, and you may find that vocal rest is more important. I think a good metric is to notice how mucusy you are the next morning. So if you have been singing regularly and you find that, wow, like by Friday, Monday is fine, Tuesday's okay, Wednesday's a little worse, Thursday is a bit funky, on Friday I'm like really mucusy, then you are perhaps inducing more vocal fatigue than what is optimal for your voice. And you may want to evaluate some of those aspects, or you may find that you need a little bit more vocal rest. Talking is probably more overall taxing than singing when you're using proper engagement and support. Monsieur Mauvais, I've also been told to have some variety in the 6 songs I perform. I'm singing a lot of popular pop rock songs. I was wondering any tips for other genres of singing. I've always sung pop rock songs. Depends on the genre. I wouldn't recommend you try to fake a country accent necessarily. If you're interested in theater tunes, then a little bit more mask resonance is appropriate. And if you're going to do something classical, then a little less would be appropriate. It really does depend on the genre, though. Nancy, I'm having a hard time to get my voice to be louder. Are there any exercises that I can do? Well, that's tricky. Volume in and of itself, volume is a natural byproduct of a well-aligned, well-supported system. So if you're having issues with creating volume, then I would in fact address it from a vowel standpoint and an airflow aspect. So I would check out the Apagio breath management video that's on the channel if you haven't already. I would check out the diaphragmatic breathing video because that incorporates airflow exercises into the vocalization practice. I would investigate the 2 video sequence that's E, A, Ah, and U and O, and evaluate my vowel alignment and see that they are all aligned properly. And then I might progress on to the daily warm-up from there and evaluate it all again. But if you have good airflow and you have good vowel alignment, additional volume becomes a practice of a little bit more engagement and a little bit greater airflow over the vocal fold. And your voice will respond to that by widening slightly to create more resonance. Aaron Justice, do you think there is such a thing as using too much vibrato? Well, vibrato also becomes quickly a matter of taste. I find it to be too much when I feel that the tonal center is obscured or lost. Also, when the vibrato becomes choppy because it's predominantly being produced by airflow attenuation, that to me, it can be difficult to listen to as well. Certainly, it pays, I think, to consider the genre that we are in, and how we're deploying our vibrato. I'm not saying that you can't have a lot of vibrato in a pop rock song, but it's a little bit less appropriate there than if you're singing an art song, for example. Gerald Ryan, hello. Welcome, Gerald Ryan. I know it is late in your day. Karina, yeah, of course I can talk about Defying Gravity as well. I love that song. I got to work on that. I've worked on that with a few different clients. And I must admit, I always feel a little verklempt when we work on that. Even thinking about it is kind of getting me a little bit. Jennifer, I love the idea of changing the key of songs I already know. I can do that with a capo in a nanosecond. Awesome. Gerald Ryan, hi, Jeff. Excellent, Jennifer. Excellent. Monsieur Maubet, how do I know if I'm growing as a singer? I know it's a very broad question, but I'm worried I'm not progressing more and more, even though I've been singing great the last few weeks. This is where recording oneself can be so helpful. But I'm not talking about listening to yourself from 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago. I'm talking about, like, listen to yourself from 6 months ago. That's really... I know that we want so much to see results quickly, and I think oftentimes we can feel results happen very, very quickly. But often these practices that we undertake don't truly get integrated into our performances for some time. So go back 6 months or a year and listen to your recordings, and see how different they sound. I think that you will be very, very pleasantly surprised, particularly if in that time you have been maintaining a very, very disciplined vocal practice. And I think that's true for all of us. You know, there are recordings of myself that I just can't bear to listen to any longer, that are really not that old. Because we all keep on growing. I mean, that's kind of the idea. Like, we want to keep growing, want to keep on refining our practice and getting better and better, not just as vocalists, but as musicians. So that's what I would suggest you do. If you don't have any recordings, then record yourself now singing those pieces you've been talking about, and tuck it away for 6 months, and then go back and listen to it, so long as you maintain your practice between, then and now. Jennifer Jones, after I sing a couple songs, I get hoarse. Is that because my larynx is rising up? Probably. That's probably part of it. But the larynx lifting is in part habitual, and it's part a response to not enough airflow. If you have enough airflow, then your vocal fold will tend to stay a little looser, and it'll have the airflow it needs to vibrate at the proper frequency. Now, if you've been squeezing out high notes, that will cause the larynx to lift as well, and that will also, get you to go hoarse. So be very careful with that. You don't want to endure that for too long. If possible, I would really recommend heading into thyroarytenoid dominant singing voice. That's your chest voice. Do some of those for a couple weeks. Just stick to your comfortable range and work on getting the vowels in alignment, and really, really focusing on airflow through the scale patterns, particularly melismatic ones, and then start working on your upper register. Gerald Ryan, there are times that I used to say to my audience before my performance that I had hoarse voice, which is really true. So I can't sing well. But when I started to deliver my song, my friends told me that I was just kidding because I can still perform well. So I want to ask how it happened. Thank you, Jeff. Well, unfortunately, I wasn't there, so I don't entirely know what all happened. But there can often be a disconnect. I mean, you know your voice very, very intimately. The only person who might hear things really that you aren't yourself hearing might be someone like me, like a vocal teacher or someone who's listened to you again and again and again and again and again. But these are your friends, so I have to assume they've heard you many times. One of the things is that if they have heard you many times, they may just think that you sing that way and they don't know the difference. It may be that you feel hoarse, but you're actually not projecting your voice that way. That's entirely possible as well, too. But again, I wasn't there, so it's hard to say. Hard to say. Aldo is talking to Aditya. Jennifer Joan Bloomberg. Really helpful tips on repertoire. Thanks. You're very welcome. Excellent. Jennifer Jones. Oh, sorry. Good morning. Good morning. JC's Radiant Ray. Like Arson, I too struggle with finding the sweet spot between technical and soul passion. Yeah, I can dig it. You know, I can dig it, and I feel like, well, I don't know. I think that's at a certain point. At a certain point, the only person who really gets to weigh in on that question is you. You know. However, if the phrasing is disconnected, if there's intonation problems, if there's vocal strain, or any number of many other issues, then it's worth assessing the technical aspects of it before resigning oneself to saying, well, I'm going to go for it, and that's what it's going to be. But again, that's just my opinion. Aldo, magic. It's not pop, rock and roll, MB. It's only rock and roll, but I like it. Capone, thanks, Jeff. So light head voice. I want like that Van de Graaff generator. I like the sound. And if I can go over C5, it is heaven sound for me. Is it hard to achieve? I believe you're a baritone. And FYI, sorry, everybody. I realize I'm falling way behind here. I will try to pick up the pace, but I do want to make sure I answer the questions effectively. Yes, Capone. If you are a baritone, at C5, it's not going to be quite the same as how he was doing it in Van de Graaff Generator. Now, the highest note I heard him sing was a G4, the G above middle C. If he goes higher than that, I'll need to ascertain that. But what I listened to, it only went up to G. JC's Radiant Ray is talking to Karina. Gerald Ryan. Oh, that's all right. I read that. Heidi Banker, thanks for your new extended warm up. It's good to get back into singing after almost a week. Got hit by a car. Oh my gosh, Heidi, that's horrible. I'm glad you had no broken bones, but it's still horrible. I hope that you are okay. Karina is saying thank you to JC's Radiant Ray. Karina, I think that's still to JC's Radiant Ray. JC's Radiant Ray is talking to Karina, and I agree with that. By the way, that's an awesome comment there. That we only grow from the effort. You know, that's such an excellent thought, and I don't really need to say anything about it. We're not always going to work on a song and get it to performance. You know, it's not going to be performance ready. It might not be performance ready, particularly those that are really, really pushing our technical abilities. But we grow from those efforts, and then we come back to it at a later time, and we keep on growing, and we keep on doing it, and we have a little, like I have a list of those tunes that I rotate through over the years to just keep on learning more and more and more. Aldo, I have problems with Ableton, latency issues. It's good for live performance, but Logic is a complete yes. Also, I found a site with a ton of plugins. That's awesome. And you have that all. You are absolutely right. I mean, Ableton is your live performance vehicle, and Logic is an excellent workstation. You got it, man. You are absolutely right on it. Yeah, Aldo, please share the link via Sequencer. And by the way, I just want to remind everybody, Sequencer is all up and running. Please feel free to join us there. It's been really, really cool, and it's working out really, really well. So, just go over to Facebook and find it and request to join, and I'll okay you. But yeah, Aldo, I myself don't use Ableton or Logic, but I'm sure that other people on Sequencer do. So yeah, that'd be great. JC's Radiant Ray is talking to Heidi Banker. Yeah, absolutely. Get well soon. Mober, sometimes when I warm up my voice in the morning, don't sing for a few hours until the evening, my voice seems to get a bit harder to sing easier than if I sing sooner. Yeah, well, that's that's why we warm up, is to get warmed up and get ready to go. If you let it go for a couple hours, the warm up kind of wears off and you may have to warm up again. Yes, exactly. Karina Chen online course, how exciting. Yeah, I think I'm excited. It's gonna be a lot of work getting ready for it, but I'm really, really, really excited about it, and I think it's gonna be I just think it's gonna be really, really cool. So yeah. Monsieur Mobe, my bedroom's flooring is tiles. One thing I find a lot is when I wake up in the morning, my voice has lots of mucus. My room has a considerable amount of cold air. I was really thinking about getting a good humidifier for my room. What do you think? Maybe. I don't know. I personally, I don't say this gets really, really personal in terms of personal preferences. I get humidity and I don't mix very well. I don't like humidity much at all. So I'm constantly running dehumidifiers and small portable heaters and things like that. The temperature to me would be more of a concern than the humidity. But you know where you live and you know your own body's dispositions. So if you think that might work, then give it a shot. But for myself personally, I would probably like double up the duvet or try to stay more like warmer through the night, and maybe I wear a hat sometimes. I know that seems perhaps strange, but I'll sometimes wear a hat on my head to try to keep my head warmer and keep my whole like head neck system warm throughout the evening, so I don't have this temperature differential between my body and neck under the duvet and my head. 50-20, 52-80 coaching makes perfect sense. First you drill, then you let it flow. Excellent. And that's a very good point, Stryker, who's talking to the Mober about drinking water before bed. Heidi Banker, thanks, JCB Radiant Ray. I am singing tomorrow, and a good friend is playing the guitar for me. Gosh, I'm so sorry, Heidi. I'm really glad you're okay, man. Jeez, that must have been terrifying. Yes, Mober, I just responded to you. Nick Acevedo, after some head voice warm-ups, my cord closure seems a bit burned out, and my voice seems to lose ping, the bright, sharp range navigating ability. How can I regain this? Vocal fry? I wouldn't necessarily recommend that if you're making a successful transition through the secondo passaggio. I did a video on singing in the mask, which has at least one or two really good exercises that can help you with that ping. I would check that out and see if that helps. Stryker, Mober. The Mober is talking to Stryker. Aldo, Meister, it makes sense. Excellent. Without technique, there's no feeling. Hour and a half of practice. I warm up head voice, falsetto, lyric, warm up solfege 2. Any new suggestions? That's awesome. Well, now you've got the extended warm-up you can work in. You can probably substitute that for the falsetto one because it covers the same range. So you might alternate between those two. But I like the falsetto one has the pentatonic scale in it, which is really fun too. But the new warm-up has this trill thing at the end of the fourth exercise, which can be really, really good for sustaining engagement at a high tessitura. So see how that goes. Maybe rotate through those, but not... It might be nice to switch those two out on a bi-daily basis or something like that. Hello, Blue Third Up. Stryker is talking at the Mober. Aldo, from Christmas till New Year, I was waking up every day to clean some restaurants and I got sick. It's horrible. My left diaphragm was in pain. Well, it's just one diaphragm, but it might be the left side. I acted stupid and didn't go to a doctor, but now I'm fine. I'm glad you're fine. I'm very, very glad you're fine. Capone, yes, talk a little bit about ping. Why is it so important for higher notes? That's an excellent question. Thank you for asking that. And if one always has to sing bright sound possible, why I want all sounds. Okay, you don't always have to do it, but there's a certain, I think you have to hit a certain bare minimum of that coloration in order for it to sound in tune. Let me see if I can make this as brief as possible. That ping provides overtones to the fundamental pitch. So whatever pitch you're singing is the fundamental, and that the resonance, that ping, contains partials or overtones of that fundamental pitch. Without those overtones, it doesn't sound in tune to the human ear. And that is why when you listen to a vocalist that's singing in the zona de passaggio in their upper register, but it's pulled back, it can be in tune, but it can sound flat because those overtones are missing. So we have to blend a certain amount of that mask resonance into the sound in order to sound in tune, even when we're singing in tune. This is why I think in some videos somewhere I mentioned the fact that that mask resonance is an integral part of our sound. If we don't have it, even if we're in tune, we'll be perceived as being out of tune. So when you hear someone talk about like there can be no nasality of any kind in the voice, question that. Take it with a grain of salt, because without that forward resonance, without any of it of any kind, we will be perceived of as being out of tune. Even in the thyroarytenoid dominant singing voice. Karina, out of the many videos that you have made, sir, which one best helps with chord closure? Last week, I did the one on chord closure. Have a look at that. And that will guide, the video itself discusses it and has some practices for it. It will also guide you to others that will, you'll have, if you get the guidebook tomorrow, then tonal onsets are included in there, and it'll list them out for you. That was part of the reason why I was doing it, was to help categorize things in that way. But basically, in short, dynamic air pressure exercises. So short notes, anything that's got like a he, those will help you balancing airflow and vocal fold adduction. 5280 coaching question: what does it mean when metal things seem to ring when I sing? They are vibrating sympathetically to the frequencies that you are producing. So you are singing a note, and the whatever it is, like this is very frequent in snare drum. Like the snares on the bottom of a snare drum will ring sympathetically because the vibrations, the frequencies that are vibrating in the air, are activating the skin of the head, the lower head on the snare drum, and it's beginning to vibrate sympathetically to the waveforms in the atmosphere around it, and then it bounces against the strings. So that's what's happening. Heidi Banker. Yeah, do not get pneumonia, Aldo. Monsieur Maubet. Water intake. Mostly my throat and mouth are very moist. It's just in the morning after a good night's sleep when the air in my room gets to my throat. Also, I'm asthmatic, so that could be another factor. Then I would definitely maybe consult with your doctor as well. We want to make sure that nothing else bad is going on in there. Thank you, Karina Chen. I hope this flu goes away soon, too. I don't know that I've ever had the flu as an adult, and this is no fun. It is really not fun. Aldo is saying thank you to Heidi. JC's Radiant Ray. One day I was screaming instead of singing to vent my passion on a subject. I do not sing tunes from any genre that calls for screaming, but I have noticed that when I dial it back down, the tune sounds much better than before. Do you have any idea why this happens? Is this dangerous? Is there another way to achieve the same result? Yes. Um, you're probably, when you do that, you're really, really activating a lot of engagement, a lot of musculature, and it could be that when you tone it back down, you're just still reaping the benefits of that memory, of that engagement. The I don't remember. I went through it in a live event, and I did it like first thing. I can sift through my notes. I keep notes on the questions that go over from one event to the next. I can sift through my notes and find out. I want to say it was like 17, like somewhere in the 17s to 20s, was I go through that whole RPTK exercise, and that's a really, really good one for amping up your engagement. It's also at the beginning of one of the warm-up videos. I think it's the tonal onset one, but I'm not sure. If anyone knows off the top of their heads, throw it in the chat. That would be awesome. Heidi is talking to Aldo. Martin Jinvan Gansen. Hello, Jeff. I have been doing your exercises for the last couple of weeks, and they are really helpful. Excellent. Thank you. I have a high voice, but it's thin in the upper part of my range, A to B5, and I am still not comfortable singing these notes. Doing the baritone warm-up helps improve balance and chest resonance. Is it better to start with the tenor warm-up and then bring in the additional chest resonance by doing the baritone warm-up, or vice versa? Hard to say. If those notes are thin, you are almost... If those notes are thin, my concern is that you're trying to push too much weight of the thyroarytenoid dominant musculature, your chest voice muscles, into the cricothyroid dominant singing range, head voice musculature. If that's the case, if that's what you're doing, then trying to sing like a baritone and then making that transition up to B5 isn't going to get you the result that you're looking for. My advice to you is to start from the top down, and even if the top notes are not quite as resonant as you'd like them to be, practice narrowing and lowering your volume as you descend. By narrowing, I mean narrowing the vowels. So practice narrowing as you descend, practice lowering your volume as you descend, and then when that becomes quite comfortable, reverse the process and see if you can do it in reverse. If you can't do it in reverse, that will be a very good indicator that habitually you're still trying to press into your upper register. And you haven't said whether you're a baritone or a tenor, or if you're aware of your Foch. But if you have your secondo passaggio in tenor, if you're a baritone or a tenor, your secondo passaggio is going to be somewhere between, D4, D flat 4, and F sharp 4. I mean, somewhere in there, baritone and tenor. I mean, tenor's on the high end, baritones are on the lower end of that. You'll be able to press a major second above that point, wherever the secondo passaggio is. But getting higher and higher, you're going to really, really be straining your voice. So I would advise against that. And 5280 is saying, hey, everybody hit the like button, please. I appreciate that. I certainly cannot argue with that. I talked about that one. Stryker. Thank you, Stryker. Gerald Bryan, it's 2:30 a.m. That is awesome. Lots of smiles from 5280 Coaching and Aldo. Read that one from Martin. I'm not sure if that's supposed to be Martij. Yeah. Stryker. Stryker is talking to Martin. Jennifer Jones, thank you so much. Have a lot of mucus. It goes around. I go back and forth between having a lot of mucus and not. Jennifer Jones is asking where the like button is. I think it's right below my picture or something like that. Oh, and 5280 Coaching is saying the thumbs up button. Monsieur Maubet. Jeff, I've been seeing a lot of amazing rock singers who, as they get into older age, they start to lose their voice. Amazing singers to listen to when they were in their 20s and 30s. Would love to know your take on this. I'm only 17, so I think I'm okay. Well, this happens when you scream and scream and scream and abuse your instrument, and don't make that transition and learn how to make a successful transition through the secondo passaggio. The differences between belting high up and a well-balanced cricothyroid dominant singing voice are very, very minimal. But the main difference is that you're not going to lose that cricothyroid dominant singing voice as you age. You will be able to maintain that a lot longer. Thank you, 5280. I really do appreciate that, and it's that's true. The likes are very, very helpful. That's true. Jennifer Jones, this is what I thought. Thank you. I think you're talking to 5280. 5280. Greg Allman can still sing well. Also Robert Plant. True enough. True enough. Although Led Zeppelin will change the keys. Robert Plant sings for Led Zeppelin. Yeah. They do change their keys, and they will retune all their instruments in order to accommodate a lower vocal range. Yeah, really adjust. I did talk about that, Mober, about poor technique over time and just age catching up. At some point, age does catch up with us. I mean, but the more that we maintain our practice now, the more that we will retain going into it. It does come down to a muscle elasticity issue and tissue elasticity issues. And, the voice, they're tiny little muscles, but they're still muscles. And maintaining that elasticity into our old age becomes more difficult. But the more that we have going into it, the better off we're going to be. JC's Radiant Ray, thanks, Jeff. Perhaps passion and soul have to wait until unconscious competence is achieved. Again, my personal opinion on that would be yes, but many people would disagree. Thank you, Jennifer Jones, for hitting the like button. Blue Third Up is talking to Heidi Banker. Heidi Banker is, yes, Jeff, I'm okay. Mostly upset that the driver backed up without looking. That's horrible. I've been hit by cars too, actually, and it was in the United States you can make a right-hand turn on red, and I was out running. And the woman, I ran into the crosswalk, and the person hit the throttle, and I rolled up the hood of the car, up the windshield, and then over off the passenger side of the vehicle. And the person pulled aside, and we exchanged information. And then she kind of looked at me, and she said, "Well, if you're okay, my car is okay," as if to suggest that any damage my body had done to her vehicle would be my responsibility. I didn't think that was too kind. It was really weird, though, because when I got home, I wasn't wearing a shirt, and I had all these black streaks all over me, and what I realized is it was her windshield wipers had left these streaks on my torso. Wade Horton, Jeff, is there a device that you can buy to hear the different keys sing in the right key? Sometimes when you sing live, you may start in the wrong key. Do you mean like pitch correction software, like something that's gonna fix your intonation like on the fly, or do you mean like a pitch pipe? I mean, if I would say just play a chord before you start the song, in order to make sure that you're in the right key. Gerald Ryan, I can't believe him. Then I record myself, and it's true. And the truth, I have my voice beautifully. I'm amazed. Well, that's great. So that becomes a perception issue, Gerald Ryan. Don't be so hard on yourself, And this is another area where recordings can be very informative, because I've certainly got recordings too that I listen back to. This very frequently happens to me when I'm editing videos for the channel, is I'll think like, oh my gosh, that was horrible. Like I can't do that. I can't like released it. And then, but I've done it enough times now to know that I edit it anyways, and I listen back to it objectively. And 9 times out of 10, I'm like, oh, actually, no, that's okay. Your own perception of your voice is going to, as you become more aware, you're going to become more intimately aware of the minutia, the minute things that the average listener will not perceive. And that's that's a level of mastery that we all look to attain. As the saying goes, in mastery, we always have a concept which is slightly beyond our ability to realize. So we conceptualize something that's just a little bit outside our ability to achieve, and we keep on practicing towards that. But that thing keeps moving forward as we keep on practicing. It's beautiful and aggravating too, but it's lovely. Stryker is talking to them over. Heidi's saying thanks to Blue Third Up. I'm gonna quickly. I know I've gone a bit slower today, but I'm gonna try and take what's left on the screen here. Mrs. Webster, good morning. Don't have a question, but can report that my voice is getting back to normal. Thanks to you, Jeff. Appreciation as always. Thank you so much, Mrs. Webster. I do appreciate that. Stryker, dub, NCVS. Okay, that's cool. Hola, how you doing, boss? Shati, hope you're doing great. Thank you, Shati. I got a little bit of the flu, but I'm all right otherwise. Mrs. Webster, yes, thank you. Strikers at Mrs. Webster. Maureen Soltar, good evening, Maureen. Greg's Life 7. Hey, Greg. Hey, Jeff was listening to some of your songs earlier today. They're really good. Thank you very much. I really appreciate that. What were you listening to? 5280 Coaching, thank you for answering my question. You're very, very welcome. Greg, also, do you have any advice for brightening my voice? Oh, wow, I hit the end. That's so cool. Mask resonance. That's really where it's at. Mask resonance and you got to have good vowel alignment. It won't carry through all the individual vowels if you don't have them in alignment. So mask resonance combined with vowel alignment. That's where it's at. Shati, boss, could you suggest me a few incredible songs that will help me get better? What do you want to work on? What are you doing? I mean, and where are you at? Okay. The generic. It's not generic. It's it's really interesting because your question brings me right back to the beginning of our session this evening. I think that the what you are going to learn best by choosing songs that you love the most. And if you can't sing it, look at the individual aspects of that song, figure out why you can't sing it, and then go and find more songs that are going to address those skill sets. So if you want to sing, I don't know why this is on my mind, but the Star Spangled Banner, and you're like, oh, this isn't really working out. I can't even get past the first phrase. Well, the first phrase, if I'm not mistaken, right. I thought it, see, that's my mental concept arguing with the reality of it. I thought it was an octave arpeggio, but it's just a descending arpeggio, right? So start working on your descending arpeggios. That kind of attention to the intricacies of the song, but sing what you love. And if it's your own music, then take an incredibly intimate look at it and look at what you're writing. Write it out if you can. And find out what is in there that is, challenging you, and then go from there. Stryker at Greg's Life. Stryker at Greg's Life. Aniha, Jeff, congratulations. Thank you. Thank you very much. It was a lot of work that wasn't always enjoyable, but I think it's really, really good, and I'm really, really excited about it. and I'm really excited to see what everyone's thinking about it. One of the things I want to say about it before we wrap things up tonight is that it's not a finished. I mean, it's finished. It's ready to go, but it's constructed in such a way that I'm gonna keep on doing add-ons to it from here moving forward. So probably in August of this year, I'll start doing the first update to the guidebook, and I'm going to integrate that update into the existing guidebook. So it's going to keep on growing and growing and growing. And it's just going to keep on being more integrated with how the channel is organized. I think it's going to be an incredibly useful tool. At least I hope it will be. So, yeah, thank you. Pelenil, really quickly, what is starting note for a tenor and baritone belts? What is the limit note? Can you demonstrate? I'm not going to demonstrate right now because I have the flu. And it varies between tenor and baritone anyway. And it's going to be different for you than it might be for me unless you happen to have the exact same voice range as I do. But the general rule of thumb is no more than a major second above the secondo passaggio. Lauren, welcome. I'm glad you made it too. I'm curious if it will cause damage over time if you go straight into singing without warming up. I've made it more of a habit to warm up before I sing, but sometimes I don't. Not necessarily. Vocal fatigue, strain, and incorrect technique are going to have more of a wear and tear on your voice than anything else. Jennifer Jones, there you go. Martin, thanks, Jeff. I studied with Maestro Delfo Menicucci in Italy, and according to him, I'm a baritenor, if that even exists. Yeah, some schools of thought include that as a classification, others don't. Oftentimes baritoners are tenor leggerio, which is the school of thought that I happen to be a part of. Very cool. JC's Reading Ray, thanks for another great event. I'm like a kid at Christmas waiting for That's awesome. Thank you very, very much. 58 is coaching signing up for notifications. Awesome. Thank you so much. You like Sarah and Return to Me. That's awesome, Greg. Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody. I really, really love these live events. I have so much fun taking the questions. You're welcome, Gerald Ryan. Shati, the easiest way to get in touch via email is to go to voicelessonssf.com and use the contact form. Jason's Radiant Ray, like Sarah, and Take Me Back. Heidi Banker saying thanks to everybody. Thank you, guys. Really awesome live event. Awesome live event. Thank you, Alejandra. I hope I feel like I'm feeling better today, and I think I'm getting better. So thanks, everybody. This is just really, really great. I really appreciate all of your input. I love the questions. Thanks for using the channel. Thanks for sharing. Thanks for the thumbs up. Thanks for liking. Thanks for all of that stuff. It's really, really awesome. I'm going to sign off and get some much needed rest. Take really good care of your voices. Enjoy singing. And I will see you hopefully next week, if not in the comments on the channel before then. Bye, everybody.